Welcome to Studio RC. My name is Max, and I am an alcoholic. I want to welcome you today. We're beginning a brand new series. Start looking at the 12 traditions of AA. Now, at Recovery Church, we have our values. We have our 12 values. But one of the things we do is we definitely believe in the 12 steps, and the 12 traditions we use as a guide. Whereas in the AA fellowship specifically, that's kind of what guides their meetings and the business end, and the thought, or the one of the joke is the steps keep us from committing suicide, and the traditions keep us from committing homicide. Now, I don't know if that might be taking it too far, but there are a lot of great principles in the 12 traditions. So we're going to take a look each week at a different tradition. And this will be the same intro each time. And because there are 12 traditions, it comes out of the 12 and 12 book, what we're going to do is we're going to take 12 minutes for each tradition and see how much we cover and what we can figure out about that. Now, one of the things I know, sometimes traditions, they're not the sexiest thing going. Sometimes when people find, if you go to a meeting and it's a tradition meeting, you're like, oh, it's a tradition meeting. I think that sometimes the more you get into them and the more you understand them, there are so many transferable principles, not only for the group, but for the individual as well. And so we're going to take a look at that and just see how that guides us, and also how that impacts us at Recovery Church, and how those traditions, how they kind of live themselves out in our context. But so we'll take this opportunity. We're going to look at each one, a different one each week. And so let's jump in right now. Thanks so much, and come on this journey as we take a look at AA's 12 traditions. Hello, on this episode, we are going to tackle the third tradition, which states the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. All right, let's put 12 minutes on the clock. It's up there, and away we go. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. I love that is the only requirement. It is a very low bar. And in the rooms of recovery, the truth is they've thrown away all membership rules and regulations that might keep somebody out there. There's nothing that gets in the way. And all that you have to say is, I'm an alcoholic, or I want to stop drinking. You don't even have to say you're an alcoholic. You just have to say, I want to stop drinking. That's enough to become a member. We want everyone to have the same chance for sobriety that we had. And the truth is, we aren't afraid, or the rooms aren't afraid, that somehow you as an individual will harm the group, regardless of what your past is, or how far down the scales you've gone, any of those things that you're bringing in. The group is not afraid of you as an individual. In regards to, I think, Recovery Church, the only requirement is a desire to stay sober or clean. So it's a little broader, but that's the desire that you want to stop. And I love that it's a requirement, but it's not based on results. You don't have to stay sober to be a member. Now, obviously, things go better and life goes better, and the point is to get sober or clean, but that's not the requirement for membership. We appreciate that the only requirement for AA membership. And isn't every organization entitled to have rules for membership? The rooms of recovery really are inclusive, and they never wanted to be exclusive. They always wanted to make sure that the bar was low enough that anyone could come in. The truth is, in AA history, early members tried making rules and making different stipulations. And what they found is it just didn't work. So that they lowered those. And there's only one requirement for membership. And that's, a desire to stop drinking. But even that, that one requirement is based on the individual, the person who is the one who determines whether or not they qualify, they themselves, whether they want to stop drinking. Obviously, nobody except the newcomer themselves. Everybody else simply has to take their word for it. One of the things that, as someone in recovery, we may see people who might need recovery, whether in our world, at work, in our families. But in this approach, it's not our job or a desire to say, you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic. We want them to come to that conclusion. And when they're able to come to that conclusion, that's the only requirement for membership, that they have that desire to stop. The rooms of recovery, that road it stays open to all, and that's important. All addicts and alcoholics are welcome, as are in Recovery Church. Now, there's that special caveat. What about the group that seems to impose extra requirements beyond desire to stop drinking? They might be considered the special interest groups, or a collection of groups in which, for example, each member must be a physician or a young person or a man or a woman, a priest or law enforcement officer or something along those lines. By their own account, those attending some of those special interest groups consider themselves AA members first. And so that's how those aren't requirements for AA, but sometimes they find that like-minded people coming together, it's important. And sometimes those shared experiences, they're unique, and there's some unique understanding. I find I went to several men's meetings when I got sober, and there was an atmosphere that was very helpful and open, and I didn't see that as a requirement, because the meeting ran as just a regular AA meeting. We all just happened to be men, and so that was an interesting thing. I've heard the same thing about opening up in, whether it's a women's meeting or a men's meeting, in those contexts, it's easier to open up to people. So, those aren't requirements, but that desire to stop. And the funny thing is, I love that it's not based on results. It's not, the results are a byproduct. The only requirement is the desire. And if that desire keeps you coming back and keeps you eventually engaging in the steps and to do the program, it will bring about life change. As the step book says in the third tradition, you are a member if you say so. And you can declare yourself in, nobody can keep you out. And we don't want to keep you out. Be sure that you get the same great chance for sobriety that we've had. We want people to get this. There's a concept, and some organizations do it in different orders, but I love that we have sort of an approach both at Recovery Church and in the rooms of recovery of belong, believe, behave. And I'll explain that. Now, some places do it differently, but the first thing that you do is belong. You simply say, I have a desire to stop drinking, stop using. You belong. You're in. That's the bar for membership. Then you begin to believe in the things and the traditions and the steps and the things that we're going through in the recovery room. And then it starts to affect how you live it out or how you behave. Now, sometimes belonging requires you have to behave a certain way before you can belong, or you have to believe a certain thing before you belong. And it's maybe if I believe, belong, behave, or behave a certain way, and then I can belong and I believe, or I have to behave and believe before I can belong. And the approach of recovery is you belong first. You're welcome here at, again, the 12-step meetings or at Recovery Church. You belong here and you are welcome. And when you begin to believe, that belief will change your behavior. It talks about that spiritual awakening. That spiritual awakening happens in the 12th step. So as you're understanding and believing, that spiritual awakening is what will change behavior. And so there are no other stipulations. So belong, believe, behave. We have been resolved to admit nobody, like that there are no stipulations, because early on they only wanted pure alcoholics or real alcoholics, and people even still struggle with, if someone brings up, "Are you a real alcoholic?" My personal feeling, if you find yourselves in the room of recovery or on a campus of Recovery Church, more than likely, if you're coming because you're trying to figure out whether you should stop or not, there's probably a pretty good chance that you're in the right place. So one of the things that the third step is about is we did not want to deprive any AA of membership. And so therefore we don't compel anyone to pay anything, believe anything, conform to anything. There's just a simplicity to it. And so we've abandoned all membership regulations. And the truth is, we're much more afraid of what people might say than the trouble that strange alcoholic might bring. We're not afraid. I said afraid. We are not afraid of what people will say. We just we ask the question. It's so funny. It's stated in the tradition book. What would the master do? And it almost goes back to that faith question of back in the day when there were those bracelets of WWJD. What would Jesus do? What would the master do? And that's a good guide for us. I want to talk about Ed for a moment. There's a person in the Tradition 3 write-up, Ed, and they say he was brash as any salesman could possibly be. I love that language because they're basically saying Ed was a jerk, brash as any salesman could possibly be. That's the nicest way of saying he was difficult, a struggle. And, Ed was very anti-God. He was and he would speak out about, how he hated God, and the group members were kind of like, getting kind of put off by that, like, you need to stop. And he's like, well, is the only requirement really a desire to stop drinking? If that's true, then I am a member, so I can say whatever I want to. What's really interesting about our membership is being correct is not a requirement to membership. I think sometimes just because someone says there isn't a God or God's not at work in my life doesn't mean that God might not be at work in their lives. But whether somebody has the wrong idea about the program, its members, or even about God, it's not an obstacle to membership. Membership, though, is different than sobriety or being clean. Membership doesn't require results, but being sober, being clean, clearly does. And so this is a bridge that helps us to make sure that we are able to connect with a power that's greater than ourselves. And Ed had some trouble, but he came around and ended up finding a higher power. He stopped kind of talking poorly about God, and had a real challenging moment. And the fellowship let him be, and he had his moment with a higher power and really came to a new understanding. But again, the only requirement is that desire to stop. I'm going to venture to say, as many of us who have experienced any amount of clean time or sobriety, that in order to get results, there's probably going to be more to be done. As we're getting close to that 12-minute mark, actually we went over it, I apologize, but let me just do that, our overview, connect the biblical concept and give that spiritual concept as well. Again, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. That really means anyone who wants to quit drinking can join AA, or wants to quit using drugs without any other condition. Now, the biblical concept is, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, from Matthew 11:28. And the spiritual concept at work in the third tradition is inclusivity and openness. Welcome everyone seeking help, reflecting unconditional love and acceptance. We leave room for those who have yet to experience sobriety, or in Recovery Church who haven't experienced faith yet. We leave room for those as well, and so that there's room to explore and to try to figure it out. Once you've extended that desire to stop, that gives you the freedom, the flexibility, the time to kind of explore some of the other elements and aspects of recovery and the program. So that's our treatise on the third tradition. Again, if you have some thoughts, some comments, something that will help, put them in the comment section. We'd love to hear that, interact with that, encourage others with that. We encourage you to like, to share, to subscribe to this podcast, again, so that we can just get the word out, increase our footprint, so that more people can be helped by what we're doing here at Studio RC. So we thank you. We will see you next time at Studio RC. And just remember, Recovery Church, 12 steps, one goal. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.